In the last episode on will, we are going to see the lapsing of legacy and what are the different types of bequests. Now, what is lapsing of legacy? This is when a testamentary gift fails due to the death of the legatee before the death of the testator. So, in a will, A bequeaths some property to B and B died even before A's death. In that case, the legacy is said to lapse. But the bequest can be given to unborn child. So condition is at the death of the testator, the legatee should be in existence. The lapsed legacy forms part of the residue of the testator's property unless testator indicated that it should go to someone else. That means if testator wrote that on my death property X will be given to Mr. So and so, and if he is not alive by that time, then to Mr. XYZ. Then if Mr. So and so dies before the testator, on death of the testator, property will go to XYZ. Now there are some situations in which the legacy does not lapse, but we won't go into all those details. They are given in section 106, 108 to 111. Now, what is void bequest? It is important again to note that void will and void bequest are different things. Where will is void, the whole entire will is void, and the valid bequest is considered inside it is also not valid. However, this is not the case vice versa. When a particular bequest is void, if the other sections of the will are perfectly in order and legally executed, then the will holds true except this void bequest. Now, what are those? What are the void bequests? Bequest to attending witnesses is void. It means if the testator gave something to attesting witness or to his spouse in his will, the will stands true, holds good, but the attesting witness does not get the bequest legacy. Secondly, uncertain bequest is void. That means there cannot be uncertainty in a will, then it becomes void. Bequest to non-existing person is void. So, a bequest made to a unborn child is valid only when the child has taken birth at the date of the testator. Bequest to person not in existence at testator's death, again invalid. Bequest infringing the rule against perpetuity till a remote period, for example 3 to 4 generations. So I bequest A for his lifetime, then to B for his lifetime, then to C for his lifetime, then to D his child for lifetime, then to his grandchildren, so child. So these are rule against rule of perpetuity. So these kinds of bequests are not valid. Now further, bequest to charitable trusts in certain cases is not valid. Bequest upon impossible condition is not valid. It means I bequeath you rupees 1 lakh if you walk 100 miles in 1 hour. This is a impossible condition to achieve, so the bequest is void. Now bequest upon an illegal or immoral condition is not valid. That means suppose I say I will give you 5 lakh rupees on my death, you murder so and so, it's not valid. Or you enter into drug trafficking, not valid. Now let's see what is vested interest and contingent interest. There are two types of interests. There is a difference. Vested interest is unconditional, only its enjoyment is postponed. Now let's take a case. A bequests to X his whole property for life and remainder then to Y. Here Y does not have immediate possession of the property as long as A is alive. However, on A's death, Y is sure to get the interest into the property. So this is called a vested interest. Now what is contingent interest? Contingent interest is dependent on happening of a particular contingent event which is uncertain, which may or may not take place. For example, the estate is bequeathed to Sunil until he marries, and after his marriage to Manish. Now here, if Sunil does not marry at all, Manish doesn't get anything. So this is a contingent interest which is depending on A getting married. Till then he doesn't get anything. Now please note, the contingent interest is not heritable or non-transferable. There are two types of conditions: condition precedent and condition subsequent, which we won't go into details. However, vested interest the legal heirs can claim. Now let's see what is onerous bequest. Now a bequest is said to be onerous when it imposes in a single bequest a liability as well as the benefit or an obligation on the legatee. So it has to be in the same bequest. In such cases, implication is either the legatee takes both or it doesn't get anything. Example, suppose the X bequests to Y some 100 shares in a company which is doing very well, and also 100 shares in company Y which is not doing so well, which is running in the loss. So in this case, either Y accepts the shares of both the companies or he doesn't get either. That's called the onerous bequest. Now for that, please note, it is important that it should be covered into the same bequest. If there are two different bequests made for company A and company Y, then the Y has got authority or privilege to accept one and reject the another. Further, bequest to executor, section 141. If a legacy is bequeathed to an executor of the will, he cannot take the legacy unless he proves the will or otherwise manifests the intention to act as an executor. For example, a legacy is given to A as an executor in the will, also is A, and the A orders the funeral according to the directions contained in the will of the testator. Then A has manifested intention to act as an executor and he can get the legacy, and he need not prove the will as long as he shows the intention to act as an executor. Under Indian Succession Act, executor can be a legatee and bequest made to him is perfectly valid subject to his accepting the office of the executor, and acceptance of the office of the executor can be shown in his intentions and actions that he takes post death of the testator. In order to get legacy, again, it is not absolutely necessary that executor must prove the will in the court. It is sufficient he shows the intention to act as an executor. Now let's see what is ademption of bequest. When specific bequest fails because subject matter is non-existent in the same very form at the time of testator's death, only specific legacies are liable for ademption. Now take a case: testator bequests a gold ring to his son, but later on sell out the ring or convert it into bracelet. Then what happens? Then the son loses the legacy because the bequest property is no more in existence. Now what is doctrine of election? Very interesting, section 180. Where a person by his will professes to dispose of something which is not his. Please remember, please see, earlier all along we have said that the testator can only will out his property. Now suppose a case comes out that a testator doesn't own that property but still bequests something to somebody. Also, There may be cases when he does not have any right to bequeath that property, but even then she does. Then the person to whom thing belongs, who is the owner actually of that property, has to elect either to conform to the disposition or to dissent from it. But if he dissents from it, he must give up any benefit provided to him by way of the will. Now take an example. Mr. C owns a farm at Nagpur. So A bequests it to B. A is not the owner of the farm, but he bequests it to B in his will and giving a legacy to 1 crore to C in the same will. Now C has to elect between retaining the farm or dishonor or not accept rupees 1 crore. Suppose C decides to retain the farm at Nagpur and the value of which is say 80 lakhs estimated, then 80 lakhs will go to B and rupees 20 lakhs shall fall into residuary bequest or shall be governed by the rule of intestate succession as the case may be. And C forfeits his legacy of rupees 1 crore because he has retained the farm. This is what is meant by doctrine of election, section 180. Friends, thank you. We here conclude the will, and in next episode I am planning to have some answers to the various questions or feedbacks that I have received from the audiences to clarify some doubts, etc. Thank you very much.